We have had a busy day. We've announced a lot of stuff, some things that we've been working on for a very, very long time. It actually felt uncomfortable sharing information with like blogs and news and things like that. Putting a press release out last night felt weird because it was like, wait, are we allowed to say this?
We've got to keep our mouths shut for so long.
Yeah. We were going to use our fancy microphones, but then we found out that the new phone doesn't connect to the old fancy microphone, so we can't use those. So I'll speak up, Rob will speak down, and hopefully it works. Pardon me, I also have a little bit of a cold today. So, I'm pretty sure I know why most people are going to be tuning in today. Who do we have so far?
Craig already says, okay, that does look a lot bigger than I thought in the teaser video. Wow.
Thank you, Craig. I'll start with a brief update on this fella. Some people call him a toasted marshmallow. We call him Droopy McCool. So this is our Droopy McCool Signature Edition. The signature on this is by Jeannie Lauren, who was one of the creature technicians on Return of the Jedi. Super fun. If you go to the Regal Robot YouTube page, go to YouTube, search Regal Robot. One of our most recent videos is me and Jeannie chatting for like an hour about all kinds of fun stuff. I'm just wondering now, I think there's a short version on the Regal YouTube. The hour-long version is actually on the Tom Spina Designs YouTube if you go over there. She covers a lot of ground on the stuff she's doing now, stuff she's done in the past. She's been everything from a dancer to a puppet maker to a puppeteer to a creature fabricator in the heart of Return of the Jedi. She had her hands on and in a lot of the creatures from that movie, and it's a really fun listen and watch. So if you have some time, watch it. And she even brought out props. She brought more props to her interview than anybody else in the past. Whoever's next, they have a very high bar to hit. That Droopy edition, everybody who's paid in full, they've already shipped, so you should have those. You can probably, if you're in our Regal Robot Fans and Collectors Facebook group, you will probably have already seen people posting pictures of theirs, which is awesome. We love that. If you ever get our stuff, please share pictures, tag us. We love seeing our stuff in people's homes. It's why we do this stuff. This guy is now 75% sold out. It was an edition of only 200 pieces. We made him a little higher than some of our other editions because Max Rebo, who is behind me, we had an 83-piece signature edition and then a 250-piece numbered edition. I believe there's about 100 of those left. I could be wrong, but that edition is more than halfway sold through that numbered edition. So if you're interested in Max, go grab one of those now. If you're interested in Droopy, don't sleep on that because more people have bought Max than there are Droopies, and eventually they're going to say, hey, I need the rest of the band. I better buy Droopy. So that's him. Next to Droopy.
Let's just call out a few people who are...
Yeah. Who do we got?
Parminder says, hey, guys. Tony Ducker says, hey, Tom, Rob, glad to make this live. Hope you guys are well. Ian is saying he's worried about Droopy being sold out. Where are we? We have a lot.
Yeah.
We have like 40 people in here.
Nice.
Hello from the Big Easy, from Tiki Man.
Nice.
Parminder saying the Rancor looks incredible.
Thank you.
Andrew saying hello everyone in Regal Robot Land.
I never thought of it that way.
Tony again says, wow, the Rancor looks outstanding. Congrats, Regal Robot.
Thank you.
Scott saying the Rancor is awesome. Christian is saying, anyone else scanning the backgrounds for hidden hints like me?
How could they?
I don't know. We would never do something like that.
Never. That doesn't sound like us at all.
Sean says, what's up, Tom and Rob? This Rancor is epic.
Thank you.
Rick, Rancor is amazing. So we have a lot of praise for our Rancor. Right. So
everybody likes the back side.
It is a good size. So you can continue now.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, so far who's tuned in. Welcome. For anybody who heard Parminder's name, I'll be on Parminder's show this evening, Sithcast. I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not, please correct me, Rob will yell at me. I believe that's 9:30 p.m. tonight. We've had a busy little while, but that should be a fun chat too if anybody wants to join us there. So, we've talked about Droopy. I can move him off to the side now, right? Maybe we can start talking about this.
It's
fella.
time for the big boy.
So, this is by far the most complicated of the maquettes that we've tackled so far. Not just in terms of, I mean, certainly in molded casts, most of these maquettes were made in Sculpey, which is a material that sculptors will use to sculpt and then bake. It's polymer clay. And what that means is you never have to worry about undercuts, molds, breaking things apart, etc. So this was sculpted without us in mind. Thanks, Phil. So Phil Tippett sculpted the original for Return of the Jedi. He had been tasked with designing a pit beast for under Jabba's palace. I believe him, it was Phil, Neela Rodashimero, Joe Johnston, even Ralph McQuarrie probably all did some sketches for that. And Phil eventually did this maquette that very quickly was approved as the beast. In true Phil fashion, he did not marry it up to human form. It has very unique anatomy and does not lend itself to being a man in suit. So, of course, they tried to make it a man in suit, much to Phil's consternation. If you go to the official Star Wars site, starwars.com, or if you look on our Regal Facebook page, or even in the email mailing that we sent out this morning, there's a whole interview where Kristen Baver from starwars.com interviewed myself and Phil together. It was a lot of fun. It's a written interview. Go check it out and give it a read. Phil talks a lot about the production and how they were, trying to do this and how they ended up doing it. But when it comes to the maquette, there are usually a fair amount of difference between the concept maquette and the final. It's part of what makes them cool is they're different. It's like listening to the demo of some song that you've loved forever. Now there's some new version of it. In the case of the Rancor, and I think a lot of this is down to Phil being the lead sculptor on the full-size puppet Rancor and the maquette. There is not a lot of distance between these two. This is really, really close to the final design. There's some changes to the face. There's subtle stuff, though. If anybody were to look at this and say, oh yeah, that's the puppet, you would probably believe it. It's an outstanding sculpture at this scale. The level of detail on it is amazing for a maquette. Usually, these things are pretty rough. In fact, again, it's part of what makes a lot of them cool. This one, though, is cool because it is so detailed. It's really, really nicely sculpted. There's a lot of great wrinkle work on the hands. You can feel the weight of the skin shifting down and stuff like that. The plates lifting up as this arm went back. Phil did not chintz out on the sculpting on this at all. Even just his tail, this chitinous tail that they were trying to do, this sort of like, a rigid lobster tail thing, which on the final, he's much more brown going down and then bone color the rest of the way. This has more of a yellow tone to it. I don't know how great our lighting is in here for capturing color. I would suggest everybody go to the Regal Robot website and click the news to go to the story about these, or click the slider banner that will take you right to the webpage. You'll see beautifully lit shots of both versions of this, and you'll get a really good look at the layers and the colors. In terms of that complexity, maintaining that detail as we reproduce them, that's a big deal. Being able to, for us, break this down to mold it and then reassemble it, cost effectively to reproduce it is a challenge. Even, getting things where it pegs into its base the right way and everything sits. Much like the big Rancor, there's little velvet pads under each foot so you know which way he goes, and so that he doesn't want to scuff the base up. The paint layers on this, Rob and I were just talking about this, there's much more paint, not more paint, much more paint on this version of it than the puppet scale Rancor that we did. It is a much more time-consuming paint job and a more complex paint job. It's akin to pointillism. It's a lot of blotches. That's my one frustration in photographing this. And I don't know, maybe you can like, Rob, zoom in on like a shoulder or something. Are you able to see like just all the blobs and things there? You know, there's all of this different sort of like dark spots and liver spots, and then there's purple tones, and there's green accents in places and things like that. There's, like I was saying, more layers on this little guy than there is on the full puppet scale version of it. Just washes, translucent color, opaque color. The purple and green are really weird. We have yet to get Phil to tell us exactly why he did that. He usually says something like, to amuse myself, as his answer. But it lends something really, really interesting to this. And the cool thing is, and this was kind of the weirdest part, I had seen this for years in reference books and things like that. And I always assumed he was just painted brown like the regular one. And then when we got to go see the original at the archives and get to put it in proper photo lights and do photographs and color matching, all this purple jumps out at you, and all this speckling and spotting, and the yellow on the tail, and it's just like, where was all of this? And
Ian just commented, wow, the paint job really comes through in that close-up. So
yeah,
it is coming over.
Even in our photos, it's tough to see. There's the, I call it like monkey skin on his arms. You've that blotchiness, the varying pigments and stuff. The little red on the knuckles. There's all this stuff going on that even in our studio lit photos kind of gets smoothed out a bit. So I think you're going to see, hopefully from this video, and hopefully we have a few other review videos going up in the next 3 days. I think with those and other people's lighting and other people's setups, I suspect you'll see different things every time you look at this. And when we first saw this thing in proper light, all that purple jumping out was just like, what? And then you just change the lighting and it's just gone. Even here, it's like, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. It's just how the light hits it, the color of the light, etc. There are 2 editions. Should we talk about that?
Let me get a few questions first.
Let's do
we
that.
have a lot. I don't want to get lost here. All right. Yeah. So AJ is saying, do you know the length and width of the black base where the Rancor is on? We do now.
I have a recollection of it, but I'm going to double check. Approximately 7 inches by 6 inches.
Okay, so a few more. Just praise.
Yeah.
That thing looks amazing from John.
Thank you.
Ian is asking, does he come attached to the base, and how much does it weigh?
He is pegged into the base. He weighs approximately 4 pounds. The base is probably near a pound.
All right, Michael says, can't hear anything because I'm at work, but the Rancor came out perfect, Tom and team. We'll be snagging the Legacy Edition ASAP when it goes up a pre-order. Looking forward to even more releases down the line. So thank you, Michael. Jonathan, he says, never ordered a Regal robot piece before. In terms of their other maquettes, how long before they sell out? I know this piece will be one of the most in demand out of all the others, but do you think this will go in seconds, minutes? He's just looking for our opinion on this. It's so hard to tell.
Man.
Yeah. We always think we know what it's going to be, and it never is.
My guess, I think this is fair to say, I believe the Legacy Edition will sell out fairly quickly, just based on the reactions we've seen today.
Yeah, definitely.
It is, and we'll get into what that Legacy Edition is and why we think that's going to do so well, and I guess why people are reacting the way they're reacting. But my guess is that one will sell out quickly, probably not even days.
No, I don't think so.
It just doesn't seem like it. And here's the thing. Most orders on every edition, so this we run into a few times where someone will say, what number did I get? And they're like, oh, you got 156 or whatever. And they're like, but I ordered in the first 2 minutes. Right. It's like, yes, you and 200 other people ordered in the first 2 minutes. Everybody orders in the first couple of minutes. So if it's going to sell through, it's going to end up selling through quick.
Right.
The Signature Edition. So the Legacy Edition, again, we'll go into the details of it. There's 100 pieces, and that's it. The signature edition, there is 150 pieces. That puts us at 250 pieces overall for one of the most complex, one of the higher priced, and one of the more popular characters. So, it has some things that we think might slow it down, and it has some things that we think are going to speed it up. Frankly, we don't know what's going to happen with the signature edition. It could be something where that sits for a couple of weeks. It could be something where that goes a month. It could be something where that also sells out in the first day. It really is tough to judge. We have seen a ton of interest in this. Higher, I would say, excitement-wise than any of the others. Look, people have been asking about this. What is it? MHCH? I don't know.
Yeah.
We always just say Michi, but you know who you are. I don't think we've put any maquette out where he didn't say, is it the Rancor?
He's on here now. So,
So we see that. We know people have been asking for this for a long time. And, the complexity of it is part of what held us off from doing it. And also what we knew where this was going to have to come in price-wise because of the work that goes into it, because we make them here in our studios, and everything is done by hand by U.S. people in New York, in the United States. Even thinking about our past Rancor, the full-size, the puppet-size one we did, that's almost 5 years ago. If we were to put that out now, that would be more akin to Salacious Crumb's pricing, maybe even more than it would be to something like the Tusken Raider, which is currently at around the price that one sold for originally. So over the last 5 years, a lot's changed in terms of that stuff. But we always knew we wanted to do it. We also wanted to come up with something special. We were like, if we're doing this, if we're finally doing the Rancor, after all of Michi's asking.
He just said, yeah, finally I can stop annoying you to make it happen. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. But we wanted to make sure that if we were doing this, we were going to do something special with it. Because, it really is. I don't think it's too much to say that this is probably the best out of the maquettes. We all have our favorites. We all love the weirdos and the ones that didn't get used and all of that stuff. But if you're just talking broad spectrum Star Wars fans, if they're looking through those maquettes, this is the one that grabs their eye. I was talking to somebody who had visited the archives years ago as a film director, and he said he went through and they let him take a couple of pictures of things. He said this was the only maquette he took a picture of, and that's why he wants to buy it, because in his mind that meant something to him. It imprinted on him.
Let me just hit a few more things. Tony says paint job is just incredible. This is a really special piece.
Thank you.
Alex says, hey guys, the piece is phenomenal. Tony's asking, did you lean on Phil for any input on this? Has he seen this, and what does he think?
So he actually has one coming to him any day now, so we'll very soon know what he thinks. We do know what he thought of the puppet scale one. He said it looked just like the real thing, but the real one had a hole in its butt for his arm. And we framed that email and put it in the workshop so that everybody can see it. Based on his reactions to our other stuff, I'm sure he's going to love it. He did love the pictures of it. He had input in the Legacy Edition more so than anything else. We certainly asked him questions about this. Anytime we're working on one of these, if there's something that's in question, we go to the original maker wherever possible. But when it came to the Legacy Edition, we came to Phil with one idea, and Phil came back to us in a very Phil way and filled it up. He really made it his own. And honestly, he made this more special than we even thought it could be. We never thought he would go for the kind of what it wound up being. And I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad that, it made us able to do that special thing. Like I said, we were looking for that. We were like, how do we do something more than just a signature edition? Is there something more than a signature edition? And it was Robb who hit on the idea of something to do with sketches. And thinking, These guys are all artists, guys and girls. They're all people that have done 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional art. Maybe there's some way to make even more than just a scan off the original replica, even more than just a signature, something that is really, literally a one-of-a-kind piece of art to come with it. And that's where we wound up.
Just a few more praise before, and I'll have you explain
what
the Legacy Edition is. Melanie says, I love him so much, and she also says, I'm definitely buying a Legacy Edition, so make that 99 left. So thanks, Melanie.
She's going to fight for it.
Andrew, getting this for sure, still debating on which version, but definitely coming home with one of the versions. I mean, you know,
that's also, you know what, that's saying something though. And one of the things that we said was, we almost did the Legacy version and a numbered version. And we actually said, let's make it a signature version. The Legacy is so good that it stands on its own, so that if people do miss out on this, with only 100 pieces, there's only so long we could chain Phil to a desk and get him to draw things. If the regular edition on this is now a signature edition, that gives people still something special to get if they do miss out on that. And it's certainly worth having regardless. I mean, it's funny, I actually have very few plaques with any of mine on display, but this is the sort of piece that, you know, plaque or not, is going to be a standout on that shelf of maquettes. I know we have some questions from before. Why don't?
Yeah, I mean, I said there's still more. You know, a few people, I mean, a lot of people are actually asking about the sketches, so I'm going to have you explain that first.
Let's do that.
Melanie says again, yay, Rob, as a hobby artist, I really do love and appreciate that about the Legacy Edition. So people are really excited about the sketches.
Cool.
Why don't you explain it a little bit first, and then we'll hit some of the older questions.
So, Signature Edition. Our standard signature plaque, classic Star Wars logo, Phil Tippett signing completely outside the lines wherever the heck he wants, because that's how he signs. We have another one coming up that is very neat. I was like, yes, thank you. And then Phil is just like, meh. But again, that's what makes him Phil. So that's your standard sort of signature edition, 150 pieces of that. Still not a ton of pieces, but the Legacy. It does come with a signature plaque. It does come with a vintage photo of Phil with the Rancor Maquette and his original sort of stop motion armature they were working with at one point. The plaque on the Legacy comes with the classic Return of the Jedi logo. That's normally a logo we're not allowed to use on product. And so we were very excited to be able to put that in the mix on this. And that's that's like one of those little touches that Rob and I always go like, get that. And then each one of these in the Legacy Edition, you're getting the maquette, the wood base, obviously, and then this framed plaque with the metal plaque, printed vintage photograph, and a one-of-a-kind, hand-drawn sketch by Phil Tippett, based on the Rancor scene. And we say Rancor scene sketch because Phil
drew the entire scene.
Really did a lot. There are shots like, I mean, I say shots because it looks almost like a storyboard when you start laying out all. If you go to our website, on the Legacy Edition page, there are a few samples that show maybe 20 or so of the different sketches that Phil did. Every one of these comes with one. Each one hand-drawn by Phil Tippett. I have a little plaque with a few more of them here. So these are just sort of temporarily taped down. Are those showing okay?
Yep, look good.
So this just shows you a little more of the variety of what Phil did. We have some where they are just heads with darker backgrounds, some that are more cartoony, some that are more detailed, some that have the Gamorrean guard in them. There's some with the Gamorrean's hand sticking out of the mouth. There's some with the bone in his mouth. There's somewhere it's his leg and
with
Luke
in the background.
The background.
They're really cool.
There's one really cool one looking down from the top at Luke over the Rancor's head. I mean, it's a really, really wide variety, all so firmly from the mind of Phil. Almost all, again, any of the ones with the head, there's usually drool.
Yeah.
He knows that's the important thing on the Rancor is drool. There's a couple with the claws and the hands that are really cool. Am I missing any
No,
broad
I mean,
strokes?
no, I mean that's pretty much it.
Some that are more marker sketches, some that have pencil on
Yes,
them.
some are all only pencil, some have ink. Some,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a wide variety,
And it was just,
and it's hard to figure out which is your favorite. 'Cause
Oh, man,
there is
yeah.
a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Really a lot of good ones.
the sketches will be awarded randomly.
We have a lot of people asking that.
Unfortunately, no one gets to choose their sketch. It's just too much, too varied, and honestly, it's the fairest way to deal with this.
We
for
do have a
everyone.
few people asking, are these sketches vintage or are they new just for this edition? Which is a very good
These
question.
are new for this edition. Phil sketched every one of these just for this. If they were vintage, they'd probably be a lot more fixed and specific to shots in the film and stuff. I mean, there's plenty of that, but yeah, this was Phil trying to come up with 100 different individual sketches, and some of them kind of overlap. There's different looks at the heads from the same side,
but they're still different.
every
Yeah,
one of them is
yeah,
different.
they
It's
really
amazing. Yeah.
A few people. Fran says the most impressive endeavor. Impressive endeavor. Congrats, our team.
Thank you.
Tony, wow, that's awesome. What a unique offering from Phil. I hope I can get a disturbing one. AJ has a good question. Can you take the metal plaque out of the frame as well?
So if you were to take the frame apart and carefully cut the acid-free tape that holds the plaque in, you could take it out of there and replace it with another photo or something like that. It is not the same size plaque as our standards. It's a little bit more square. It's about 3 by 3 or 3.1 by 3.1. But yes, could you remove it? Yes.
AJ also is asking, will the frame have a hang option to display?
The frame does have a hang option to display. So the frame has both the little flappy guy and the little guy there to hang it. So you have both options.
All right, Justin has a good question. Will there be a way archive where we can see all 100 sketches?
We have talked about
We
that.
sure have.
We almost were going to include a card in with the thing with all the sketches, really, but it would have been really small, and it was something that there was just some issues with licensing or something and getting that through. Maybe someday. Here's the thing. I would love to use the Regal Robot Facebook group as like sort of an
That's the
informal archive
archive,
for that.
yep.
You know, and it's like when everybody gets these, post a picture of yours, and maybe we put together like a gallery or,
Yeah,
or an
definitely.
album or something. I think you could do albums
Totally,
in
yeah,
groups.
yep.
So maybe we can make an album in the group and just put everybody's sketches
Yeah.
there.
I mean, what a better way to show off what you got. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, everyone has something unique. Parminder, is the picture frame glass or acrylic? Just wondering for shipping purposes.
Aha, so were we. So, this is actually, it is an acid-free mount and then an acrylic glaze on top, not glass. And it's for that very reason. We did not want shattered glass.
Yeah, we went back and
coming
forth a
through.
lot with that.
The good thing is, though, because of that mount, the sketch is not touching that acrylic either, which is always a good thing long term. It is not UV acrylic, it is just standard acrylic. I think it's 3/16 thick, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
that's what it is.
And it actually, it's funny, you know, they're custom made for these frames. We actually are swapping out glass for acrylic just for that reason.
Barry says, checking in from the Bahamas. Love this
Oh,
piece.
man.
Can't wait to order mine. Rub it in, Barry.
Yeah.
Rick says, I hope I can get the sketch edition. Let me hit a
We
few
do too.
of the questions that were asked.
Yeah, we had a
online.
bunch of people asking questions.
David has a good one. Now that everyone knows what's included in the Legacy Edition, will we see more of them in the future?
So, will there ever be another edition exactly like this? It's possible, but there aren't as many characters that would lend themselves to 100 different, drastically different looks. That said, we have some ideas, we have some things in the works, we're talking with a few people. We would like to keep exploring this sort of a space, and we have ideas on where and how we're going to do that.
All right. Melanie's asking if acrylic will yellow over time.
It should not.
All right. A couple people are asking about shipping overseas and like, what's the reason why we can't do that?
So this is pretty standard for these. Unfortunately, our license with Disney is only for the U.S. and that's U.S. shipping. That does mean we can take orders from anyone, anywhere. However, we can only ship to a U.S. address. We've had lots of friends from overseas who have purchased from us over the years, and thank you for that. But anytime they've done it, they've used a U.S. shipping address when they've placed the order. And unfortunately, that's just a limitation of how licenses work. Every license has a territory, and the U.S. Shipping is ours.
Ian says, a man. One can never have enough Banana Man sketches. Rick is asking, is it faster to pay up front or go through the payment plan? I'm guessing he means like when it's going to be
for shipping?
Released too.
So, in the case of this, I believe what we're saying is the shipments will start in Q1 of 2024, and they will continue in small waves well into the year, probably into Q3 2024. If you pay in full, yours will be shipped, in the order that people have paid. So if 20 people paid in full before you and you were number 21 to pay in full, then you would be number 21 and you would be shipping out the 21st piece out. If you do the payment plan, it doesn't ship until you have finished paying off your payment plan. What I would say is this. If we get ahead of schedule on production, and we just had this with the Holy Grail cups, where we got, we were slightly delayed on the Nurhachi urns, which we're actually working on paint now, but we managed to, in that time, get ahead on the Grail cups. Katie will often contact people and say, hey, your plan isn't up for another 2 months, but your Grail is ready in case you want to ship it early. So you always have the opportunity to pay it early and ship it when we're ready to ship. When I say small waves, these are hand finished in our studio, hand painted. Each of them takes hours and hours and hours of finish work and paint. The reality of shipping on these is we're talking probably, 10 or a dozen going out a week sometimes. These are not going to be going out in huge batches of 50 or 100. So, and on top of just all the finish work painting, then someone has to come in and hand pack everything, get everything double boxed and labeled and COAs and all of that stuff, get the photos mounted. So, like a lot of our stuff, expect them to ship in small waves, starting, in this case, Q1 2024, and then going for quite a while after that.
All right, Charlie says, totally amazing. What would approximately package dimensions be on this piece?
That is actually on the website now. So this will come in a gloss black box with die cut foam. There will be a space for the plaque, depending on the edition, and the base will be shipped in a separate space within that box. I believe the black gloss box will be 12 by 12 by 16. I believe the shipping size is then 14 by 14 by 18, so that we have an inch all around it for soft fill. And then that outer box is usually double corrugated cardboard for a little extra protection. If you go to the website, it should have the shipping weight, which I think is around 12 pounds.
I have more questions, but why don't you go over the pricing and the edition sizes again?
Sure. So we have the Signature Edition. Signature Edition is $12.99 US. And that is limited to 150 pieces. Then we have the Legacy Edition. Legacy Edition comes with the framed plaque, the hand-drawn sketch by Phil Tippett, and those are $16.99. And there's only 100 pieces in that Legacy Edition.
Well, 99 because Melanie's already buying it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is, of course.
All right, a couple more questions that were asked earlier. What goes into the creative process regarding how you choose which item gets made next, and how far in the future do you have planned?
So,
you have a few
planned? Planned is probably a multi-pronged thing. There's planned like we've done a prototype, and then there's planned like maybe we've done some digital on it. Then there's planned like we've gone and done the research on it, and then there's planned like, ooh, we got to do that someday.
Yeah.
On the ooh, we got to do that someday front, all of them.
Yeah.
On the prototyped, a lot actually. We have been working well ahead on these to try and do that. We already have the one after him, who's next to the Rancor, is already in mold and cast. And beyond that, I mean, we have some signatures already on a couple of future editions. We have, we've got mold and cast on one other now that I'm looking at it, and then prototypes that are like ready to mold prototypes on another 2 or 3. This is a series that we absolutely love. I mean,
we're all in.
Yeah. Our plan is to do as many of these as we can while we have the license, as long as we can keep it, and to give people as close as they can to the feeling of when we go into the archives and see the shelf full of maquettes, or when we look at the Smithsonian magazine, or the panning shot from Star Wars to Jedi, or that great shot in the Art of book. So we definitely have more of these coming. We definitely have a good number of them in the planning stages.
All right, AJ says, off topic, but I can't help but notice, will the bib maquette finally be released next year?
Possibly. Bib has been bumped a few times, mostly because we've been trying to get other creators in there and not give everybody the fill tip it collection. In the case of the Rancor, this was sort of overdue, and we think this is special enough that we can break that rule. Bib is well on his way to development. He is the other one I mentioned that's already in mold and cast. He's another fairly complex paint job, though, believe it or not. And so my assumption is he will kind of continue in the background for a while, and then at some point he'll pop up his pink head. The next one we have after this is actually going to be a new sculptor.
I have a question just about that.
Uh-huh.
It says, how many new artist signatures will we see with this series?
At least one.
Yeah.
I can think of one other after that who I'd like to bring in, but that's a little trickier. So
I know exactly what you think.
But we do have one coming that'll be a new one, and the good thing here is, I'm going to answer a question I saw online somewhere else. Somebody was saying, I hope that the price of the Rancor doesn't indicate the new normal for these. It does not. It indicates the new normal for a piece as complex as this one is, but it doesn't indicate anything in terms of the rest of the line. And the best proof that we have for that is the one that we just released a couple of weeks back, this fella, who was just $2.99. So wherever possible, I can't stress this enough, anybody who ever is concerned about our pricing, just simply know this. Every piece that leaves this shop, as ridiculous as this might sound, is as cheap as we can possibly put it out the door. And that's that. We see when people express concern over our numbers, and we just kind of, honestly, we sort of shake our head and say, well, they don't know. They don't know what it takes. And that's fine. But I can honestly say you can feel very safe to assume that any price that we put up is as low as we can get it and get it into your hands. And it's going to be reflected in editions like this, and it'll be reflected in the one for January, which will be, at this point, it looks like the same price as Droopy, which was $2.99, as opposed to our normal $3.99. And if we were just about setting norms and always raising our prices, we would have just put him out at the regular price of $3.99 or $4.49 or something like that, because it's a signature edition. But no, wherever we can, we're working to do our best for you, and that's the truth.
All right, a few more questions. Connor, any plans for doing prequel maquettes like Dexter or Neimoidian, please?
So it's interesting. I don't know that I've seen Neimoidian maquettes. I feel like they.
No, yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. What was this guy's name? I almost called him Dexter. Connor. Yes. They're cloners. So next year is the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace.
Maybe we should do something.
Maybe I'll just say that. Maybe I'll just say next year is the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace.
That'll always be the answer.
Yeah. What do you know?
Tony says, do you think the Ewok on glider is a possibility?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It's a cool one, but that's tough to reproduce.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
seeing it
look,
firsthand, it's tough to repeat.
if any of them, they're all possibilities. And if somebody has the money to fund that as like a, I want to do a custom model, I'll pay the development costs, whatever. If they've got that kind of money to throw at it.
But Christian says Ewok.
Yeah.
We need an Ewok bus. From now on, I will root for an Ewok bus until my wish can come true. Yub nub.
Him and Michi are
Yeah.
fighting in the comments.
But there are some that are way more doable than the glider.
There are, and there's a couple of, so I can think there are 3 good Ewok maquettes, and one of which I definitely have my eye on, and one of which I really love, but I don't know, he'd be down the line.
All right, I'm going to read this one out just because Tom will know this one.
Okay.
John says, ooh, a Darth Maul maquette. You want? Well, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
So that Rob and I were actually just talking about this, how there really aren't Darth Maul maquettes. There were, they worked off, it seems like mostly sketches in that regard.
yeah, Jason says, teasing us the prequel generation.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people asking about size snoodles. When can we expect her?
So, I would say, if I had to pick the 3 most complicated ones,
She's up there.
she's definitely top 3. He's up there.
Mm-hmm.
She's up there. And, I had a 3rd one and I just lost it.
F-Amon?
F-Amon's
Oh,
up there.
no,
Animan.
Animan.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. With the heads on the staff. And
the size,
he's
the
big
spindly
and
arms.
the
And,
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are constantly looking at all of these. We have done development on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
We know which ones people are asking for. We are anxious to do some of the same. What I would say is this: we're not far out from the release of Max, and he was not far out from the release of Jabba. And if you look at what we've put out just in that short time, I mean, Max, Reese, the Yak Face, Weequay, Baby Yoda, the 4 concept Tauntauns, the Gammy from Mandalorian, Droopy, 9 Numb, who's not even in my case because they're using him as a paint master next door, and now the Rancor, and another one coming in January. Like, we've done a bunch. So,
and now we have someone asking for picky guards.
love the
We have 2 that are really nice that we like.
We do. I even like that 3rd one, even though he's also But the pig guards are great. The pig guards are really good. Size Noodles is great. All of these are things we want to do, and as we work out the best way to approach it, that's when they'll start to work their way in.
All right, we have a few of the older questions still. Let me go
I'm
through
gonna put some other sketches up for a while.
A couple people are kind of asking how it compares with the other release of the Rancor, the puppet version that we did.
Yeah. So
maybe kind of break that down a little bit.
It's so obviously it's smaller. It's about half scale. If I had to guess, he's about 9 inches without the base. He's maybe 9 1/4, 9 1/2, and then the puppet scale one is like 18 or 19. They're, in terms of level of detail, they're very, very close. In terms of paint, they're very similar. Like we were saying before, the small guy's actually a more complicated paint job to replicate. It's interesting. The process was a little different on each of them. The screen use puppet was a little trickier in terms of there weren't as many ideal photographs from the vintage time, so we had to do a little more digging in terms of his coloration and in terms of some of those kind of details. The puppet still exists, and it had been restored, and it was in really nice shape when it was scanned. So we were able to, most of that detail was there. But for going back and figuring out the little nitty gritty stuff, that was tougher. With the maquette, it still exists. It's in the archives. It's in almost perfect condition. I mean, he's got a couple of cracks here and there. I think one of his fingers is cracked and stuff. But for the most part, you can do a really good color comparison. We can figure out. We can, the paint on the real one had changed a little over time. It had darkened. The paint was in great shape. It wasn't over latex. Everything was was there. So in terms of the paint, it was more difficult to recreate, but it was easier to figure out because that reference was one-to-one.
All right, AJ is saying, I have a feeling the Admiral Akbar from the Smithsonian Magazine will be next.
I'm looking because I have a copy literally on my desk at all times, and it's like right there. I'm like, yeah, Akbar's in the front on that, right?
Justin saying, how about the Jabba and Gamoran busts? Are they in the sooner than later pipeline?
To be determined. I love if he's talking about the Jabba bust version, that Ralph McQuarrie looking one, which is actually a Chris Walas sculpt before McQuarrie was even on the film. I love that one. But then you've got the two snail-like Jabba and the two human Jabba. I mean,
we love those so much.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Ian saying, does Phil have a particular attachment to one more than the other?
Ooh, Phil is not particularly sentimental.
Yeah.
I don't know that he does. He definitely, I mean, he seems proud of the Rancor. He has more stories about the Rancor, I think, than the others. Maybe just because it was required to do so much more. Yeah, I don't know. I would not be surprised. There's like this weird swamp creature that's way in the back of the Smithsonian thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, oh, that one's my favorite. Like, he's like, you just never know.
Tony's saying, how does the Rancor stack up in size next to the Tauntaun maquette? Any chance for a side-by-side? Without...
So the Tauntaun is taller. He's pretty beefy, but the Rancor is definitely more detailed. And certainly the paint is quite different when you talk about, raw gray versus highly, highly detailed. And it's another piece from almost 5 years ago now that I think about it. Sold out. I don't know that there's ever a non-signature edition in the future on this, but yeah, so that's your kind of side-by-side there on those.
And Justin did confirm he did mean the McQuarrie style Jabba bust.
Nice.
So
I love that.
Yeah,
one.
we love that one.
Get Droopy back over here.
Yeah. You did kind of hit this already, but Tony had a pretty good question. It says, question for Tom and Rob. There are plenty of images online of the Rancor maquette in the archives, and on tour it looks like a very detailed, multi-layered paint finish. What can you say about the paints used, the challenges, etc.? And do I see highlights of purple tones on it as well? Yeah. Is that a feature of the paint finish or just a reaction to the flash photography?
So, flash changes everything on this. And we have actually seen a wide range of photos by different people that have done over the years of the original maquette, other licensees and things that are in Lucasfilm's image archives. And there are some that you'd be hard-pressed to believe it's the same piece. And one of the things we did was we actually did our first Paint Masters, and almost immediately after that, Rob and I were at the archives like the following week, and we came back and changed our Paint Master because even working from photos and Pantones and things like that, it's you see the thing again in person, you put it against the white backdrop, you get your color card, and you just digest it again. And the change that we made to it was more breakup, more blotchiness. We had unknowingly improved the paint job. And so we worked it back, and we actually repainted our Paint Masters to reflect that. And that's something that we do, whenever possible. If we can get a second look at something, or in this case, a third or fourth look at something. But yeah, there is decidedly purple strokes all over him, brush strokes. There's a few greens that are very similar. There's some reddish and orangey tones as well. It's a wild paint job, and it really does. Like, if you threw a flash on this, it would read completely differently. And it feels like the flash brings out the contrast in the blotches. I've seen a couple of flash shots of it where the sort of dark brown spots on his shoulders look black. But, being able to be there and right up on the thing and compare it with color tones and things, you can, we came in knowing, like, okay, this is as dark as that is, this is as dark as that is. So,
So Christian says, speaking of the archives, you should do a Regal Robot video roadshow and take us with you. Pretty please.
Oh,
if only we could do that. That would be great.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. The ranch is a great place.
A little more private, but great.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they would like that. And maybe our last trip to the archives.
Yeah.
David says, is there a possibility for any Star Wars ship concept models that could complement the Mikette line for a future release?
Vehicles are a very specific subset of licensing. And if I'm understanding it correctly, that's unlikely. We've had some vehicles involved actually in some of our furniture, as weird as that might sound. And interestingly enough, in the furniture zone, we have more latitude. But when it comes to collectibles, right now, vehicles, you're going to be looking to a place like EFX or possibly Bandai, who has the
model
rights
license.
for models.
Yeah. All right, John is saying, any more weapon replicas planned after the Gaffy Stick run is over?
Yeah.
Christopher, are you planning on getting any of the actor signatures with the series if you run out of artist signatures?
So, when it comes to something that was worn in a film or handled by an actor, something like our Tusken Raider bust, which comes with Alan Fernandez, the last living Tusken Raider's autograph, or our Gaffy Stick, which came with, in that case, the creator, so that was Roger Christian's autograph. On something like the Gaffy Stick, we could have done the actor, but we had already done him with the bust. On the maquettes, right now that is more limited to the creators. And part of it is because this is all about behind the scenes. This is all about the creators. I'm trying to think of another example where we did get an actor, Salacious Crumb. We got Tony McVeigh and I've lost his name. Tim Rose.
Tim Rose.
Hello, MTV land. So Tim being a performer, we were able to do that because there again, it's a one-to-one. It's a thing that was used in the movie. He was a performer. Technically, Phil was the performer on the Rancor regular edition. So if we're doing other props, if we're doing one-to-one busts, all stuff that we're always looking at, then you might start to see some actors. For the maquettes, unlikely you're going to see actors anytime soon, but never say never.
AJ, he must have missed this earlier, so just remind him. The next maquette, is it going to be priced like Droopy?
AJ, you've got to tune in early. The next maquette, indeed, will be at the same price point as Droopy, as far as we know. Yeah. Right now, it should be the same price point as Droopy.
He also has another question. Any Black Friday hints what we can expect to any new products?
We have a few new Indiana Jones decor things coming for Black Friday. Not terribly high-priced stuff. Should be kind of great gift type things for the indie fans in your life, especially the people who like the making of the movies and things like that. And we don't have any new releases for Star Wars for Black Friday. No. We will have some sales on most likely decor stuff for Star Wars, perhaps some with Indiana Jones, maybe even the new pieces if I'm remembering right. It's not going to be a huge sale this year. We don't have a ton of stock we're sitting on or anything like that, and but we, as always, will have something special. It's we have 2 sales a year, right? It's May the 4th and Black Friday. So if you've ever thought about picking up any of our decor stuff, that's definitely the time you want to take a look at it.
All right, Ian says, love keeping the focus on the behind-the-scenes creators. Really great for fans of documentaries like Classic Creatures. And we agree with that.
We agree, yeah. He agrees.
Let's hit this one more time. Galaxy Works is saying, great statue. Will there ever be a possibility of licensing in Europe?
Maybe. At this point, that is not something that's in the cards. Anyone from Europe can order. They just have to use a U.S. shipping address. There are a lot of changes that come with that behind the scenes if our license ever does extend to that. It's one of those things that for the time being, it does not look like it's in the cards. I do think if that ever does happen, there's going to be additional costs that go along with that. I know everybody laments that if they are overseas, they've got to ship it to a friend or ship it to a somewhere else and then ship it to them. Unfortunately, that is just the nature of the license at the moment.
All right, Tony says, I know you have done a few interviews with Phil already.
Yeah.
Did you do one with him on this new Rancor Maquette?
We did not. I've actually been pulling Rancor quotes from some of our previous ones, and we might put out a video in the next few days.
But the StarWars.com interview is new.
But the StarWars.com interview with Kristen Baver, Phil Tippett, and myself is new. It's a written interview rather than something you can listen to in your car. You read it in your car, but just do it when you're parked. So go to StarWars.com. It just came out today. It'll be one of the newest news items, and you can read all the fun stuff that Phil had to say about the Rancor.
Melody's asking, any headway on tackling the leg issues for Size Noodles?
I mean, that is one of the big concerns on Psy. We have a few ideas, but unfortunately, that's not the only thing that's a challenge for Psy. But like I said, we have ideas. We're always looking at it. Honestly, there have been a lot of things over the years where we thought, well, that's something we'll never be able to do. And a few of them are behind me now, The chess set is actually one of those that we always thought was going to be too complex to pull off in a way that it could ever be affordable. And I'm really, really proud that we were able to do that. And I have no doubt that we are going to continue to explore options and figure out new ways to do things and surprise even ourselves with what we're able to make in the future.
Ian asked earlier, will we get any additional hints on what's next after the Rancor?
After the Rancor? No. Same price point as Droopy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hint.
New signer. That's actually a big
hint. That's a big hint. Yeah. That is
a
big hint. All right, I like this question. Have you ever thought of doing a fan vote on what maquette gets made next? Give us an option and let us pick.
We have thought about that.
A lot.
And it may be something we see. Honestly, it sounds like the sort of thing we could do in our Regal Robot Facebook group. If you're watching this and you're not in the Regal Robot Fans and Collectors Showcase Facebook group, go to Facebook and search Regal Robot Fans and Collectors and it'll come right up. It's a fun group. Ask to join. Someone will let you in.
And we have a very fun, new, exclusive fan item coming up very soon.
We will have a new little piece of fan swag.
Fan flair.
Fan flair for the for the group only. It'll be an exclusive little Regal Robot tchotchke that you'll definitely want. And then we also are about to hit 2,000 members. And when we do that, we will run a big contest with something cool as a prize. So even if you are there, go invite your friends, because the sooner we get to 2,000, the sooner you get a chance at winning something cool.
I am pretty caught up on questions right now. So maybe just give it another little overall view. Give me the pricing. Give me what the edition sizes are. What makes one special.
Let's get Tauntaun out of the way. So, Droopy McCool, 75% sold out. Signature edition. Jeannie Lauren, she's awesome. Watch the video on the Tom Spina Designs YouTube page. Go to regalrobot.com and order yours today before they're gone. Rancor comes out for order on November 14th.
What time?
12 noon Eastern. So, it's the day after Odd Couple Day for anybody, for Tony Cipriano out there. There is a signature edition, which comes with a signed plaque by Phil Tippett himself, the man who sculpted this legend when it comes to creature creation. And then the Legacy Edition, which I almost knocked off the counter, which comes with not just a signed plaque with cool old vintage Regal, Return of the Jedi logo, with a vintage looking photo of Phil, but also with a one-of-a-kind hand-drawn sketch by Phil of the Rancor scene. A few other samples here. There are more samples on our website. Go to regalrobot.com/Star Wars. Look for the archive collection page, and you can see some other examples. There will be one sketch with each Rancor you get. Phil drew them a couple of months back for us. Every one of them is unique. There are only 100 in that edition, and from the way people are reacting, I'm going to say you're going to want to be on at 12 noon exactly to place your order.
Or 11:59.
Yes.
And why don't you show the paint again?
Yeah,
Because
let's do
you know
it.
what? Actually, the purple is really showing off right there.
Nice. Yeah, there's just so much to him.
All right, Rick just asked, are the sketches signed?
The sketches are not signed, but the plaques are. We felt it was a little overkill to have that right on there. We figured keep the integrity of the sketch and come up with this unique plaque to put in with these instead.
Tony says, thank you, Tom and Rob, and all the Regal Robot team for bringing these wonderful maquettes into our collection. It just keeps getting better. So thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And Alex snuck in an Indiana Jones question. And not the Alex you're thinking of.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Which I'm going to yell at him for not asking more
Exactly.
questions. Regarding Indiana Jones, when can we expect the next prop replica to be announced?
It's a great question.
It is.
Soon. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have several prop replicas in the works for Indiana Jones, and we have one that no one would ever guess. We might have two that no one would
I was
ever
going to say, I
guess,
think there's more than one up there.
We're trying to do unique things. We're trying to do stuff that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, and we're trying to do things that will be more authentic and faithful than you can get anywhere else. We have spent countless hours researching this stuff, handling the real props, 3D scanning, color matching, handling measuring to within an inch of their lives. And then on top of that, doing tons of digital work and things like that as well. Even on things you would never think we could use digital. It's going to blow your minds.
I was going to say, can we say it's mind-blowing?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah,
It's
pretty good.
We do have, though, I'm just looking at our board here, I would say there's one other sort of higher-end decor piece that will sort of feel prop-ish that...
It's very propish.
Yeah, it's in the realm of the two bigger wall decor pieces that we did, the Grail tablet, which is currently available and just started shipping, and the big dart face guy, which also, we're just wrapping up the first waves of orders on those shipment-wise, so those very soon will be switched over to more of an in-stock, and they'll ship as soon as you order them sort of thing. Very much in line with those in that same, $300 to $400 price range, and really, really cool. We actually have the prototype to it in the back, and that's going out for molding at the end of the week. So, yeah, there's plenty more on the way from Indy. We are very dedicated to that. We hope that we can continue with that for some time as well. We'll see how that goes on the licensing side, but our goal is to really, really build on what we've done with Indy and just bring folks more of it.
I think we can wrap this up.
Thank goodness, because I can't talk about it. PJ, I'm not going to be able to do the show.
And then
tonight.
Tom fainted.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for all of the kind comments so far on this and for all of the interest. I'm excited to see what next Tuesday brings.
Sign on early. Be
sign
ready.
on early.
Hit F5 a bunch of times.
And I just, very curious to see where all of that goes. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.